Just a few things before we get started. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sydney Stringham. I'm the Director of Alumni Engagement at Elmira College. And if you've been staying tuned to our alumni link and our Elmira College Facebook page, you'll see that we have a plethora of events going on right now. But some key ones that I want to make sure I note for everybody here on the call: on October 14th, we have our Athletics Hall of Fame. On October 17th, we have a virtual estate planning. On January 26th to 27th, we have our Athletics Alumni Weekend. March 18th, we have our Mamone Academy, where we're going to honor Chip Coffee. April 24th is Elmira Everlasting. June 20th through the 23rd will be Reunion. And right now it's looking that October 28th, 2024 is going to be our Octagon Fair. So stay tuned by reading our alumni links and following us on our social media accounts. And that'll be where the most up-to-date information is, also where you can figure out how you can register for these events. It is now my pleasure to introduce President Chuck Lindsay to give us an update on the college and then answer some questions. And as a reminder, if you didn't submit questions beforehand, you can submit them in the chat function, and we'll try to get to as many as we possibly can. Thank you, President Lindsay.
Thanks, Sydney. Good evening, everyone. We've had a great start to the academic year. I just got back about an hour ago from women's soccer game, and it was fantastic weather. Unfortunately, the score wasn't in the right direction by 1 point, but it was the women played very vigorously, and it looks like the team really has a chance of breaking a 500 record this year. So excited about that. We also welcomed the spirited class of 2027, and I have to tell you, the new students are very spirited. They really seem to have a lot of liveliness to them. We had a successful mountain day last month, and let's just say it took them a while to learn the alma mater. I wasn't happy with it the first couple of times. And then when they learned it, let's just say they weren't all in the same key. So it took some time. But I have to applaud the level of spirit they had. So I know there was a question about enrollment, so I'll cover that now. We had 205 new students join us, and the overall enrollment for the school is just a bit under 700 right now. I'm not giving you exact figures because we haven't finalized the figures yet. And I don't want inaccurate numbers to be floating around, but they should be finalized in the next couple of days. We were expecting a much larger bump of students from our international recruiting partners. We were projecting that, or they were projecting that we'd get approximately 25 students through them from overseas. We ended up with only 7 students from them. We're doing some diagnostics, and we have some information that we're going to change our approach. They're going to change their approach, and we think that we'll do a lot better next time around. We also saw some issues with retaining students. The 2 areas, or the 3 areas, that really seemed to impact students from this past year to this fall were, number 1, did they participate in athletics? If you had a very large roster, such as what we had in soccer, men's soccer, then the student has less of a chance to play. And with some students, that makes all the difference in the world. Also, athletes have much more of a possibility of, or an ease of transfer. A couple of years ago, there was a transfer portal that was introduced online, and that simply means a student just puts their name on the list, and then students can other colleges can contact them. So if there's any issue with a particular team, we recognize that we're vulnerable in terms of losing a number of students on a particular team. So we are dealing with that by introducing JV teams. And this year we introduced JV team in soccer. So we're going to see how that goes. And we will be introducing a JV men's hockey team as well, because we certainly can recruit loads of students in men's hockey. So we'll see how that effort goes. One of the other reasons was academic deficiency, and that was concentrated among the first and second year students. So in reality, we think it's related to COVID, meaning that the high school experience of several of these students really wasn't up to par. And so they academically weren't very well prepared. So that was a second factor. And the third was a feeling by some students that the campus and its environment, meaning Elmira, wasn't a good fit for them. Now, there's a number of factors that go into that category. The senior officers and the college are looking at specific ways of pointing out to students and involving students with the community so that it makes a difference, and they recognize that in reality, particularly blessed with a lot of opportunities, culturally, civically, socially, and so we want to make sure that students are aware and take advantage of those. So there are some bigger things afoot that we're doing, though, in terms of building enrollment for the future. First is the Take Flight program. And I think there were a couple of questions submitted about that. The Take Flight program essentially provides access to an Elmira College education to lower income students. What we're doing is promoting the fact that it's free tuition and fees for students whose families earn $50,000 or less and reside in the state of New York. Now, you might wonder how we can accomplish that kind of magic. And the answer is that a student whose family has typical assets and earns $50,000 or less qualifies for the full Pell Grant award from the federal government and qualifies for the full grant from the state of New York. TAP is the program, Tuition Assistance Program. If you put those two numbers together, it's the equivalent of the average amount that we collect from students in tuition and fees. So it really is that you have third parties that are helping the student pay for the tuition and fees. Now, if they come to campus and they live on campus, they will be paying room and board. But we're promoting this as a way to create greater diversity on campus, provide access, and grow enrollment. So that's a little bit of the behind the scenes of how that program works. I know there was another question about the turf field. And I can say that we're in the process of working through that decision. We had a presentation that was made by a contractor last week to a board, the board facilities committee. And what they did was vote to recommend moving forward with a plan to build a turf field or convert the turf field that's at the corner of 5th Street and Davis to turf. And why are we doing that? Well, for several reasons. First of all, we are the only institution, you may have heard me say before, in the Empire 8 Conference that does not have a turf field. And players are used to being on a turf field, and it puts us at a competitive disadvantage in recruiting students. So we're looking at installing a turf field, and if all the approvals go through, that would happen by this next fall. So in the fall of 24, there would be a turf field, and hopefully with lights and bleachers. So stay tuned for more information about that. The thing we're going to do in conjunction with it is reintroduce men's and women's lacrosse. So not only will it help us in recruiting soccer players and field hockey players, but you may know we had men's and women's lacrosse teams about 4 years ago, They weren't that large because we weren't able to recruit students that well. But if we solve the problem with new coaching and a turf field, we believe that will result first year conservatively in about 30 new students coming to campus. So that's a second major initiative that we have in place. And stay tuned for more information on that. Let's see. So after that, I wanted to mention there are some other things that we're addressing campus life. There's a more robust intramural sports program going on. It's been nicknamed the Lindsay Games after the president. And every Sunday morning and afternoon, there are some competitive games on campus for all students, athletes and non-athletes. Occasionally, the president shows up to make sure that his name, image, and likeness isn't being misused, and to try his hand at bucketball and some other really rigorous sports. And so far, I haven't made a fool of myself, so that's good. In September, we had Tommy Hilfiger and members of his family visit campus. Tommy was on campus to record a promotional video. Then he met with students, about 25 students that are in the Tommy Hilfiger Fashion Business Program. There was a Q&A session, went very well. And then we had a rally with a couple of hundred students and members of the faculty and staff who were there to greet Tommy. That went extremely well. He also answered questions there. And I thought the highlight was that one student, in all sincerity, asked him and said, "Mr. Hilfiger, what do you say is the best way to get into the fashion business?" And without missing a beat, Tommy grabbed the microphone and said, "If you enroll in the Tommy Hilfiger Fashion Business School, that's the best route." So we got some great promotion and publicity out of that. You may be aware that we're in the process of searching for a new vice president of advancement. We're in the final stages of that search. We had 3 finalists come to campus last week. I'm very impressed with their credentials. We wouldn't go wrong if we hire any of those 3. So I'm feeling that we're really going to have someone who will be able to move the advancement and alumni relations forward. We'll probably be making an announcement as to who the successful candidate is early next month. So that's been a long process, but it looks like we're going to get it across the finish line and really have someone who can contribute quite a bit to our effort in advancement in alumni relations. And I have to give a shout out to Dawn Stever. She's a member of the search committee, and she keeps showing up and putting hours and hours in. So much appreciation, Dawn. And your opinion on things has really been much appreciated. So, yep, there you go. So I know you're going to send me a bill eventually. So I'm just trying to make you feel good. You may have seen the latest edition of the college rankings from U.S. News and World Report. We moved up in the rankings, which is great. I think that's something that we really should be publicizing, that we're recognized using the criteria that U.S. News does for the quality of the undergraduate experience that Elmira offers. And we all know about it, but to those who don't, it provides a benchmark that they can check out the school and decide they may want to learn more about it. So we were ranked number 7 overall among regional colleges in the North. That's up 1 from the year before. And I should say regional colleges North essentially refers to the Middle Atlantic states. And I would say conservatively, there are about 550 colleges and universities in that region. So to be ranked number 7 really means something. We were ranked number 2 in the best value regional colleges. We came up 2 in the rankings for that. And then lastly, we were number 4 in top performers on social mobility for regional colleges. And we moved up 10 places for that. So I think that's some highlights of things that I'm going to hit. I know there are several questions, and I'll be happy to go into detail about anything I talked about or some other things that might be on people's minds.
Thank you, President Lindsay. So you covered a lot of them from the submissions we received. And a reminder to those on the call, if you want to submit questions in the chat, we'll take them in live time. But from the bank of questions we received prior, from Jean Emery 53, she asks, can you tell us about the governance of the college, especially the role of the Board of Trustees?
Well, sure. So college governance is an interesting topic. Essentially, you have the Board of Trustees for an institution who are I describe them as the stewards of the institution. They legally are Elmira College. That is the body which is Elmira College. And they are meant to be good stewards of the institution and ensure that we're carrying out the mission. And then there's administration. I head up the administration, and we carry out the mission. So the Board of Trustees shows up to hold administration accountable to the institution's mission. I mean, who knows? If there was no Board of Trustees showing up, I could abscond with the funds to Mexico. Anything could happen. So you have a Board of Trustees that holds administration accountable. They come in, they say, if this is the mission of the institution, show us, demonstrate to us how you are fulfilling that mission. In corporate speak, it's the same as the principal. Principals are the owners of a company, and agent is the manager who carries out the business. And sometimes there's a little bit of a disagreement about where the line is between administration and trustees. Some trustees like to manage things sometimes, and I've got to say, you can hold me accountable, but I'm the one who's supposed to be managing. And that's a typical tug of war and happens at a lot of colleges and universities. I will say that there's been significant changes on our Board of Trustees in the past several years. We've gone from a low of about 15 members in early 2021, and we now have 21 members of the Board of Trustees. And I would say it's a very effective group in that they're all rowing in the same direction.
Perfect. And then Jamie Redmond 78 asked, can you discuss diversity and inclusion initiatives at Elmira College?
Sure. There's a lot going on there. One of the major moves we made in early last year in 2022 was to hire a director of diversity, equity, and inclusion. His name is Larry Parker. He has an office in the campus center, and his philosophy is about bringing people together and creating a sense of belonging. So rather than it being about looking at differences between people, it's helping to foster understanding among people who have different backgrounds, who might have different opinions. Diversity can be defined in a number of ways. It is not just racial diversity. And I think that's part of the learning experience. So that's Larry's philosophy, and that's what motivates him. We have something called the IDEA Center in the campus center now. IDEA stands for inclusivity, diversity, equity, and accessibility. And that's a space that's available to students for informal meetings, for formal presentations, It's for them to get together and have a student focus. There's something called Tuesday Talks that happen in the Idea Center. We also do have special programs throughout the year. We're about to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month. In February, we have Black History Month, and we also celebrate Women's Heritage Month, to name just a few. I'll also say that Larry has been instrumental in developing a number of a list of external scholarships to help people or help students ease them of the financial burden of attending college. So we certainly are aware of scholarships that Elmira offers, but we're trying to, again, make the education more accessible. And he researched and made sure that those external scholarships were online.
Larry's the best, and he's funny, really funny.
And Larry's the best, and he's funny. Yes.
Yes. Very important job qualifications for Elmira College. Don Dana 78 asks, Chuck, did we end up with any former Cazenovia students?
Yes, we did. Now, we ended up with 7 of them. Now, you might think, well, if they had several hundred students, why didn't we get more? The reason was that most of the students were receiving very, very, very deep discounts. When they applied to Elmira College, we discovered that sometimes the tuition was discounted by 70%. So they were paying only 30% of the sticker price for tuition. And that's what they were expecting going forward. And we weren't going to match that. We recognized that that's part of the reason that Cazenovia didn't succeed. But we did enroll 7 students, and we're happy to have them. And from what I hear, they've been well integrated into campus life.
Thank you. And then Julie Del Grosso 79 asks, is there a specific country where many of the international students come from?
No, we have some from the Middle East. We have a student from Spain. We have several from Asia. And our men's soccer coach is particularly effective at getting students to come from South America. So you really have them from all over the globe. Funny story was that the student from Spain, he was flying from Spain to Detroit and then to Elmira to come to school. And Jana and I were coming back from vacation, and we ran into him in the Detroit airport. He didn't know who I was. And I had been trying to sleep in the airport for several hours, so maybe I wasn't looking my best. But he said something. He said, oh, well, I wanted to live in the towers, but I wasn't able to. I'm going to live in Columbia instead. So I knew where he was headed. And I just walked up and introduced myself, and I said, I'm president of the college. Well, he looked at me. He didn't believe me, I don't think. Well, when we got to the Elmira airport, the coach greeted him and said, oh, here's the president. Well, he just about died. So he makes it a point every time he sees me on campus to say hello.
Thank you. Charlotte Smith 17 asks, what was a memorable moment during the 2022-2023 academic year?
Well, there was a student who made a point to come up to me and thank me for the experience of going on the undergraduate research term 3 travel course to the Bahamas, that it impacted her decision-making and her career trajectory. She's now into environmental science. She was able to get an internship over the summer related to that. And so I thought it was a fantastic example of a student learning about themselves, having hands-on experiential learning, which helped them discover who they are and have a clear career path. And that's really what we're all about. So it was very rewarding to have her approach me and thank me for it. And of course, I took all the credit for it.
You're the president. You can do that.
That's right.
Okay. We have 2 questions that are left. So just a reminder that you can submit questions in the live chat if you want him to get to them tonight. But for now, Jennifer95 asks, the annual report shows a revenue and expenditure. How does it compare to two other colleges? Has that changed with your tenure, and how can we reach our goal for giving?
Aha. Well, I think you're referring to the pie charts for revenue and expenses that were in the annual report. I can't say that the proportion of revenue and expenses has changed that much since I became president. I'll make some general observations, though, and that's that the proportions are pretty much in line with other small private colleges. If you look at other sorts of institutions, major state universities or research universities, the revenue coming in is much different. I would like certainly more revenue to be coming in from endowment. We have an endowment which is modest in comparison to some other institutions. And I think we're looking at starting in a little bit a comprehensive campaign where we would start to rebuild endowment so that we would have a larger payout from endowment and a higher proportion of revenue coming from that source, which allows us to have scholarships that are funded rather than unfunded. And the second thing I'll say in terms of expenses, I wish that we were spending a slightly higher proportion on instruction. We're pretty much in line with other small private colleges, but the academic program, instruction, teacher salaries, that's what it's all about. Long term, you want to make sure that you've got the quality in the classroom, and one of the ways to do it is to make sure that you're compensating your faculty appropriately. So I'd like to see that percentage go up just a little bit.
Right, and Kat, I had you next, I promise. Kat Sly Hernandez 12 asks, what is the biggest thing alumni can do to help increase attendance at Elmira College?
Aha. Well, we actually announced are announcing a program that we're very proud of, and I'm looking for the details right now so I don't make a mistake on that, and I'm sure I have the details here somewhere. Yes. Okay. We're announcing tonight, and we'll be able to send everyone a link shortly, the Alumni Referral Scholarship. And the basic details of that are that all alumni of Elmira College are invited to refer a high school senior, junior, or a sophomore, or a prospective transfer student, so it could be in any of those categories, through this alumni referral program. And so there's a draft form that'll be available online that you can fill out. So you're limited to making one referral per admission cycle per year. And students that are referred to Elmira College will receive this alumni referral scholarship, which is worth $1,855, not a random amount, that is renewable for up to 4 years of study full-time at Elmira College, provided they're going to remain in good standing, they're not in trouble with the dean, and they're making appropriate academic progress. So the total value of that award over 4 years would be $7,420. Now, the thing that's exciting about it is you're in the position as an alum to refer someone. So you can be the one that takes credit. You can say, Elmira College made a difference in my life, and I'd love you to consider it and have it make a difference for you. And because of that referral, you get credit for giving them this $7,400 scholarship. So referrals for current seniors, if you have a current senior in mind, need to be made prior to February 1st of 24. So there'll be more information about that, but that's a major way that each of you can make a referral and make a difference in a student's life and help us grow enrollment. A second thing I'll say is that when you're excited about something happening at Elmira College, retweet it, send it, talk about it, send folks the link. And that's the way word gets around these days. And the more our alum share, the more people become aware of the exciting education that's available at Elmira College.
Thank you. And we don't have any more questions for you. So I appreciate you taking the time to go over all of this with us, President Lindsay, and people can stay tuned in our Alumni Link newsletter and on our Facebook and our LinkedIn pages. So if there are any events you're interested in going to, that's where you can register and find out more information. If you're interested in hosting events, shoot us an email at alumni@elmira.edu.